noticed how some things just feel kind of inherently creepy?
Yeah.
You know, like they're right on the edge of something truly unsettling?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's exactly the feeling I get when I think about the story of the Annabelle doll.
Oh, yeah.
And not that super scary porcelain thing you see in the movies. I
Mm.
mean, the actual real-life doll, a pretty normal-looking Raggedy Ann.
Interesting.
But this seemingly innocent toy has become like this huge focal point for all these paranormal claims.
Oh,
And it even inspired a whole bunch of Hollywood horror movies.
I did.
So naturally, it makes you wonder, what's the real story here? What's the truth behind all the hype?
Right. What is it about this particular doll?
Yeah.
It's fascinating how a simple object, like a child's doll, can become like this lightning rod for so much fear and intrigue.
Exactly.
I know, it's crazy. In this deep dive, we're going to be exploring the different accounts surrounding the Annabelle doll.
Okay.
We'll look into the investigations that have been done. We'll even hear from those who are, very skeptical.
Okay, yeah.
And of course, we can't forget about its surprising journey into pop culture.
Absolutely. We want to understand why this doll, out of all the dolls out there, has captivated our imaginations for so long,
Yes.
and why it still gives people chills. We're going to sift through the events, the Warrens' involvement, the questions skeptics raise,
Right? Yeah.
and just try to figure out what it is about this Raggedy Ann that's inspired so much terror, especially on screen.
Yeah, the on-screen part is really interesting, isn't it?
Right. I mean, how different is the real doll from the one they show in the movies?
Yeah, and could there be other explanations for all these spooky stories that don't involve the paranormal?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so let's start by going back to the very beginning, to the doll's origin story, I guess you could call it.
So the story starts back in 1970.
Okay.
A student nurse named Donna received a Raggedy Ann doll as a birthday gift from her mother. And it wasn't like some super special or antique doll or anything, just like a regular secondhand Raggedy Ann.
Gotcha.
Donna was sharing an apartment with her friend Angie at the time.
Okay.
And, at first the doll was just another thing in their apartment. Nothing unusual, right?
Yeah, sounds pretty normal so far. A doll in an apartment?
Exactly.
What could go wrong?
But
Oh.
then things started to get a little weird, unsettling even.
Okay, I knew it.
But it was subtle at first, the kind of things you could easily explain away.
Oh, like what?
Like, they might find the doll on the floor,
Okay.
even though they were sure they left it on a chair.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe it would turn up on a different piece of furniture.
Okay.
You know, those moments where you start to doubt your own memory?
I've been there. Happens to the best of us.
But then those little oddities started to escalate,
Oh no, what happened?
They started finding handwritten notes around the apartment.
Oh, creepy.
And these weren't just scribbled on, any old piece of paper. They were on parchment.
Parchment.
Yeah, parchment.
Okay.
Which neither Donna nor Angie owned.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah. And the messages were simple but super creepy. Things like, help us.
Ugh, yeah, that would freak me out.
And then there was one that said, help Lou.
Help Lou, like a specific person's name?
Exactly. It was that name that really made it personal and just ramped up the creep factor.
Yeah, that's when it starts to feel real and targeted,
Definitely. And then things took an even more disturbing turn.
Oh, no. What?
They found the doll with what looked like bloodstains on its hands.
Wait, blood? That's terrifying. Like actual blood on a Raggedy Ann doll.
That's what they reported. I mean, could you imagine?
It's like something straight out of a nightmare. This innocent childhood image suddenly tainted with something so sinister.
Right. I mean, that's the point where it goes from maybe explainable coincidences to something much darker.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is where Lou comes into the picture.
Okay, who's Lou?
Lou was a friend of Don and Angie. And right from the start, he had this really bad feeling about the doll.
Oh, no good.
He just had this strong intuition, a gut feeling that something evil was connected to it.
Oh, man, I hate when that happens, like when you just know something's wrong, but you can't explain it.
Exactly.
Mm.
And unfortunately for Lou, his intuition seemed to be right.
Oh, no. What happened?
So one evening, Lou and Angie were in the apartment. Donna wasn't there.
Okay.
And they heard these weird noises coming from Donna's room.
Okay, spooky noises.
Spooky noises, yeah. Naturally, they went to investigate.
Of course. What else would you do?
And what do they find? The doll sitting on a chair.
On a chair. What's so scary about that?
Well, they specifically remembered leaving it on the bed.
Oh, okay. I see your point.
And remember, this is a floppy Raggedy Ann doll. It shouldn't be able to just sit upright on a chair like that.
You're right. That's a bit strange.
Yeah. But what happened next is even crazier. Lou suddenly felt this searing pain on his chest. When he looked down, he had these deep claw marks.
Claw marks, like from an animal.
That's what it looked like.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah, and get this, the marks completely vanished within 2 days. No trace of them left at all.
That's insane. Physical evidence that just disappears.
It's mind-boggling.
You can't just explain that away.
It's definitely a pivotal moment in the story. And this is where Ed and Lorraine Warren enter the scene.
The Warrens, the famous paranormal investigators.
With one and only.
Wow, so they were called in to try and figure out what was going on with this doll.
Exactly.
That's wild. I can only imagine what they must have thought when they first saw this unassuming Raggedy Ann.
Well, the Warrens, they already had a reputation for investigating all sorts of paranormal cases.
Right, they were the go-to people for this kind of thing.
And their involvement is a big reason why the Annabelle story became so well known.
Yeah, makes sense. They definitely brought a lot of attention to it. But what did they actually think was happening with the doll? What was their conclusion?
So before the Warrens got involved, Donna and Angie had actually consulted a medium.
Oh, really? What did the medium say?
The medium told them that the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a young girl who had died near their apartment.
Oh, so like a harmless ghost?
Yeah, exactly. The spirit's name was supposed to be Annabelle Higgins.
Annabelle.
Annabelle, yeah. And according to the medium, the spirit just wanted to be loved and stay with them.
Well, that sounds kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, but the Warrens strongly disagreed with that interpretation.
Really? What did they think?
Their conclusion was much more sinister.
Uh-oh.
They believed that Annabelle wasn't haunted by a harmless spirit, but was actually being manipulated by a demonic presence.
Wait, demonic. Okay, that's a huge difference.
Right. The Warrens believed this entity wasn't interested in just hanging out. It wanted to possess a human host.
Oh, wow. That takes it to a whole other level. So they didn't think the doll itself was possessed by a little girl's ghost?
No, they didn't.
They thought something darker was using the doll as a tool.
Exactly. They believed that true spirits don't possess objects, but malevolent entities can attach themselves to them.
To create illusions and mess with people.
Yeah, that's the idea.
That's a really creepy thought.
And the Warrens pointed to certain things as evidence for their theory.
Like what?
Well, the doll moving around on its own,
Yeah.
for one.
Okay, yeah, that's creepy.
And those parchment notes with the weird messages.
Oh, yeah, those definitely added to the whole creepy vibe.
And they saw the claw marks on Lou as a possible mark of the beast.
Whoa, okay, that's intense. So what did they do with the doll after that?
They decided to take it with them.
I guess that makes sense. You wouldn't want to leave something like that lying around.
Right.
But wait, didn't something happen when they were driving the doll back to their place?
You're right. Their trip home wasn't exactly smooth sailing.
What happened?
They said that during the drive, their car started malfunctioning like crazy.
Really? Like how?
The brakes would fail. The power steering would cut out.
Oh no, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and the engine kept stalling too.
Oh my gosh, they could have been seriously hurt.
They definitely thought so.
No.
And they claimed that these issues would only stop temporarily after Ed Warren sprinkled holy water on the doll.
Wow, they must have been freaked out. I mean, that's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, it definitely reinforced their belief that this doll was dangerous. But the story doesn't end there.
There's more.
Oh, yeah.
What happened once they got the doll back to their house?
Even though they took precautions, they claimed that Annabelle continued to act up in their home.
No way. Like what?
They said that even when they locked her away, she'd somehow move to different rooms.
Levitating and teleporting around the house.
That's what they said.
That's crazy. They couldn't keep her contained.
Apparently not. And there's this one story about a priest who visited their house.
Oh, what happened with the priest?
So the priest, he didn't really believe in the doll's power. He even supposedly said something like, "You're just a doll, you can't hurt anyone."
Oh man, I hate it when people tempt fate like that.
Right. Well, the Warrens warned him to be careful, but he didn't listen.
Uh-oh. What happened to him?
On his way home, he got into a terrible car accident.
No way.
Yeah, his car was completely wrecked.
Was he okay?
He survived, but it was a close call.
Wow, talk about a spooky coincidence.
Yeah, and there are even more stories about people who visited the Warrens Occult Museum where the doll was later put on display.
They put it on display?
Yeah, but in a glass case, of course.
I guess that makes sense.
But still, there were stories.
Like what?
There's this one about a visitor who taunted the doll.
Oh, come on. Why would you do that?
I know, right?
Did something happen to him?
Sadly, yes.
What happened?
He died in a motorcycle accident shortly after leaving the museum.
Oh no, that's awful.
And his girlfriend, who was with him at the time, said that they had been making fun of Annabelle before the crash.
Geez, that sends chills down my spine. It's hard to ignore all these stories, like the doll really is cursed.
Yeah, I get it. But it's important to remember that not everyone buys into the Warrens' version of events.
Okay, so there's another side to this story.
Definitely. There are a lot of skeptics out there who see the whole Annabelle thing differently.
How so?
Well, they view the Warrens Occult Museum as basically just a collection of ordinary things with maybe some exaggerated stories attached
Oh,
to them.
So they're saying the objects themselves aren't really cursed or haunted.
Yeah, that's the idea. Some skeptics think that the Annabelle legend is more of a cultural phenomenon, a story that's been shaped and blown up by pop culture.
Like an urban legend that got really popular.
Exactly. And you have to remember that the Warrens were gaining a lot of attention around the same time that movies about possessed dolls were becoming really popular.
Oh, you're right. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. And there was even that old Twilight Zone episode, Living Doll, where a doll was named, you guessed it, Annabelle.
Wow, so maybe all these things influenced how people perceived the Annabelle story.
It's definitely possible.
So it's like the power of suggestion.
Exactly.
We see what we expect to see or what we're afraid of seeing.
Right. And there's this other interesting theory that the idea of demonically possessed dolls allows some people to find evil in the most ordinary places.
That's an interesting take. It's like taking something familiar and innocent, a child's toy, and turning it into something terrifying.
Yeah, and some critics have also pointed out that the Warrens were great storytellers.
Oh, yeah, they definitely knew how to spin a yarn.
So it's hard to know how much of their stories were based on actual evidence versus embellishment or even fabrication.
Right, it's like separating fact from fiction.
Exactly. Plus, there's another important point.
What's that?
We don't actually have any direct accounts from Donna, Angie, or Lou.
Oh, you mean their firsthand experiences?
Yeah, all we have are the Warrens' retellings of their stories.
So we're relying on a secondhand account.
Pretty much. Which, raises questions about the accuracy of the details.
That's a good point. It's like playing a game of telephone.
Yeah, the story can change a bit each time it's told. But despite all the skepticism, there's no denying that the Annabelle story has become a huge part of pop culture.
Yeah, it definitely has.
I mean, the Warrens case directly inspired the Annabelle character in all those Conjuring movies.
Oh, yeah, those movies are super popular.
They are. And it's interesting because the movie version of Annabelle looks nothing like the real doll.
Yeah, she's way creepier in the movies.
Right, in the movies, she's this scary porcelain doll.
Yeah, she's the stuff of nightmares.
And the real Annabelle is just a regular Raggedy Ann doll.
Right.
But, you know, changing her look for the movie was probably partly because of trademark issues.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. They couldn't just use the exact same design.
Plus, I think they wanted to make her extra scary for the audience.
Yeah, and they definitely succeeded. But it's important to remember that the real Annabelle is still out there.
That's right. She's currently locked up in a glass case.
Still causing trouble.
Well, she's not supposed to be.
Where is she now?
Originally, she was at the Warrens Occult Museum in Connecticut.
But that museum's closed, right?
Yeah, it closed down because of some zoning issues.
Oh, right. So where's the doll now?
She's still in a secure location, although the exact whereabouts are kept pretty secret.
So she's still under lock and key even though the museum's closed.
Exactly. They're not taking any chances. And the case has a very clear warning sign on it.
What does it say?
Do not touch. Absolutely no exceptions.
Wow, serious stuff. So even after all these years and all the debate, people still think she's dangerous.
Yeah, and Tony Spera, Ed Warren's son-in-law, has been very vocal about the doll's supposed evil nature.
Really? He's carrying on the legacy.
It seems that way. He said that the doll is still a threat.
Wow. So there you have it. It's a pretty wild story, isn't it? You have this ordinary-looking Raggedy Ann doll at the center of all these chilling tales and a super successful horror movie franchise.
It really is remarkable.
And what's even crazier is that people still believe in her power, even today.
It makes you think, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the Warrens, who were convinced that Annabelle was a conduit for a demonic entity.
Right, they saw true evil in that doll.
But then you have the skeptics, who explain it all away with psychology, suggestion, and the influence of pop culture.
So who's right? Is the haunting real, or is it all in our heads?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I think that's what makes this story so fascinating. It really makes you question the nature of belief, the power of stories, and our tendency to find the uncanny in the ordinary.
You know, it's almost like the real haunting isn't in the doll itself.
Yeah, go on.
It's in the stories we tell about it, in the fears it triggers in us.
That's a great point.
What does it say about us that a simple toy can become such a powerful symbol of terror?
Exactly. It's almost like a mirror reflecting our deepest fears back at us.
I love that.
And it forces us to confront those blurry lines between what we believe and what might actually be out there.
It really is a story that stays with you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It makes you think twice about the things we often dismiss as just toys or objects.
Because maybe, just maybe, there's more to them than meets the eye.